Hey everyone, I'm Painted by Ellie, and this is my first long form piece of content. I'm infiltrating YouTube now. If you know me from Instagram or you came from Instagram, welcome back. If you are stumbling on this because you're a weirdo and love watching SFX and weird makeup, and you love horror movies, then you should probably also follow me on Instagram. But I am going to be trying my best to have a decent YouTube schedule because I do love doing long form content. It's so hard to keep everything down to a minute and a half. So I thought it would be really cool to kind of combine my love for makeup and my love for horror movies and start doing a horror movie review channel where I also do horror makeup, so I can kind of mesh those two things together. I'm doing a saw, a glam jigsaw. If you didn't know, I'm actually a professional makeup artist out in the real world and not just online. I am a haunted house makeup artist. I'm also a makeup artist for photo shoots, bridal. I do music videos, would love to do films. I've done New York Fashion Week a couple times, so runway shows. So I love anything that I can do to do makeup, but
shit, Einstein.
that stuff requires travel, and this I can just do in my little lonesome home. I figured, why not? So the first movie that we're reviewing on this channel is the most recent one that I've seen, which is Iron Lung. If you don't know what Iron Lung is, you probably didn't rely on YouTube as a child, and you also probably don't know who Markiplier is. Basically, Iron Lung is a self-funded indie horror movie made and starred in by a YouTuber, Markiplier, who is a mega famous YouTuber for gaming that raised basically most of my generation. I went off camera to finish the white vase. I look actually fucking insane. I can't emote. It's gonna come through. It looks crazy right now, but you gotta trust the process, okay? The movie is based on a video game where you are a convict and you're in a post-apocalyptic dystopian society where all of humanity has died, and you are sent down in a submarine to gather information to try and save what's left of humanity, I suppose. The funny thing about that silly little ocean that you're inside of, that you're exploring, it is an ocean of blood. You use this little X-ray camera to take pictures underneath all that blood and kind of identify creatures, objects, anything that is suspicious underneath this ocean of blood for research. So it's this rickety ass submarine, which I don't fuck with. We're basically stuck in this very small area for a very long time. The whole scare factor, I guess, is that it's single setting, so you feel very claustrophobic. The ambiance is a huge part of it, and then also the pictures that you take, because you'll see these creepy little creatures, you'll see fucking bones and shit. Now, I remember when this game came out and everyone was playing it. I'm a big gaming YouTuber girl, which is my guilty pleasure, but I don't care. I fall asleep to it every night. I've been watching it since I was a kid. Like I said, Jacksepticeye, Markiplier, all those people raised my generation, I feel like. When this game first came out, I remember it, and I remember everyone playing it. And I, to be completely honest, wasn't the biggest fan. I am somebody who struggles with patience a little bit. I'm somebody that likes gore, and really in-your-face horror, which is why I love Art the Clown so much. It just wasn't like my style of horror, but I respected it, you know. I totally understood why it would be like super popular. It was a very low quality graphics type game, which makes it a little bit spookier sometimes. I have to say though, like when Mark announced that he was making a movie about Iron Lung, I was still shitting my pants excited about it. So excited, because that's a huge breakthrough for indie movies, is a YouTuber doing a movie that is actually has like a lot of substance and isn't just about them being a YouTuber, you know what I mean? Like kind of creating something huge and using his unfathomable platform and influence and money to make something even bigger out of this little indie game. So let me start this review by saying two things. You are going to be more critical of this movie if you are not a fan of Markiplier, and you are going to be more critical of this movie if you don't know what game this is, if you're not familiar with the game. Now, with that being said, I am not at all saying that you cannot enjoy this movie without knowing those things, but I feel like as a Mark fan, I can say that going into it, you definitely have a little bit of a bias where you are familiar and already a fan of the media that this movie is about. And again, that does not take away anything about how well he did or anything like that. It's just simply something that I would go into it if you don't know him. I would go into it remembering that and kind of trying to remember that throughout the film, is that this is based on media and already kind of has a bit of a fan base, which is inevitably going to help it skyrocket. So I'm creating like a bit of a doll-esque cheekbone here. Facts, proving that you don't necessarily need to understand to enjoy. Like I said, wasn't a huge fan of the game, so I hadn't brushed up on the lore or seen the game for a long time when I went to go see this movie. I did not brush up on it beforehand or anything like that, and I still really enjoyed it. I'd say I'd give it like an 8 out of 10. 7 or 8 out of 10, and I'll go into like what kind of took points off for me and obviously what gave it points. Obviously I'm being biased here, but I think my favorite thing about the movie was the makeup. Like I said, I'm a huge gore person, and obviously I'm a big SFX person, so I keep an eye peeled for that kind of stuff when I watch horror movies, and I look for like really impressive makeup and SFX, and because it motivates me, it inspires me, I find it fascinating. I have since I was a kid, so I have to give huge props to the makeup artists that were on set. I'm gonna list their names right here because they deserve so much more attention than they are getting. That is a problem in the industry. I feel that the makeup artists behind these movies don't get a whole lot of attention, but they are a huge hand in making these movies come to life. One thing that did take points off for me was, like I said, I'm a huge gore person, and that was part of why I didn't love the original game, because it was mostly totally tame inside of a submarine. However, the last 5 to 10 minutes were phenomenal for me, and that is where you see, I'm gonna try not to spoil too much here, that is when you see most of the gore and most of the makeup. There were a couple cuts here and there that I thought were also really impressive on Mark's face. Before that point, that was kind of a give and take for me. I thought the makeup was phenomenal, and that was a huge part of my enjoyment of the movie. However, the main amount of that makeup was done within the last 10 minutes-ish towards the actual huge ending. And that is also kind of takes points away from it from me a little bit, because I do look for those shocking moments in horror, and it did take so long to get there, and it was so short-lived. However, another thing that I really loved was the cinematography. The shots were incredible. Just the camera work, the cinematography was just beautiful. And with, you know, not the biggest budget in the world, that is really impressive. Speaking of not having the biggest budget in the world, I want to go ahead and talk about another thing that I'm really obsessed with, which is practical sets. Kind of goes hand in hand with me falling in love with the makeup, is falling in love with the fact that they used practical sets. They built that submarine, it was beautiful, it looked amazing. So like the practical set use is huge in my opinion. That is going to automatically make me respect the movie so much more than if that was all done with rendering or whatever. Love practical sets, love makeup being used instead of CGI, love all that. Another thing was I was really surprised by Mark's acting, which I guess I shouldn't have been super surprised, because, you know, if you do watch his videos, we do see semblances of talent in acting, but you don't really think about it like that when you watch somebody playing a video game, you know? So like for me, you definitely see talent in acting when YouTubers will voice act for games, or a lot of the time they have separate side projects where they kind of show acting ability. But it's not like, you know, a huge thing that you think about when you think of a gaming YouTuber, you know? So that really blew me away. I thought he did incredible with the acting. Really made me believe that he was going crazy. Part of that was really confusing, because half the time I didn't know what was real and what wasn't, which is part of the charm, because you're supposed to be kind of stuck in there with him, experiencing the dread how he experiences it, which he also is unaware of what's real and what's not. So totally makes sense. I get that creative choice where we're kind of on the outs just as much as he is, because that kind of makes it a little scarier. Negative for me, which again can be a positive for people who loved the game, just again comes back to my issue with patience and kind of being smacked in the face with the horror elements, is that it is a one setting movie. It is slow, it is stagnant. There is one main character that you see for most of it, very much like about Simon, Mark's character, in the submarine, and that's it. So if you struggle with patience, if you struggle with kind of paying attention for, you know, when things aren't being thrown at you like I do, then that might be a little bit of a bore for you. But I know that a lot of that is a me problem, and people do love slow burns with really shocking endings, which if you do like that, this movie is all of that. I kind of feel like I'm getting Frankenfurter right now. Special mention to the fact that Jacksepticeye was in the movie very briefly. I have admittedly always been more of a Jack girl than a Mark girl. I love Jacksepticeye so much, so I was very excited to see that. we are almost done here. Let me know what other movies I should talk about on here, guys. I want to definitely go into not just new movies, but like making recommendations of my favorites that are already out that I would love for you guys to check out for yourselves. Thank you guys for watching. I'm gonna throw some lashes on and then take some finished look clips to put at the end. But again, let me know if you have any other movie suggestions that you want me to talk about on here, ones that you want me to watch and then review if I haven't seen them. Go over to my Instagram if you want to look for more content, just short form. That's painted by Ellie with 2 D's and dots in the middle. And I'll see you next time.